What's going on, everybody? It's Marion County Prosecutor Ryan Mears with my main man, Rob Booker. Book, what's going on?
How we doing? Great to be here.
Man, it's great to be back and continuing these conversations with young people in our community. I really enjoyed the first couple of conversations, and kind of the next step in this conversation is talking about young people and their interactions with law enforcement, but also the criminal justice system as a whole. And I know that's a conversation you're frequently having with kids in the community.
Yeah, we talking to the kids. A lot of them have a lot of concerns with dealing with the police. How interacting with the police. Some think bad about the police, but we're here to talk to them to let them know everything's not bad with the police department. So I think it's a great topic.
Yeah, and hopefully we can fill in some of these gaps, because I think a lot of times there's maybe misconceptions about what's actually going on and maybe how the process or the system works. And so, hopefully we can just get some honest information out there and people can make their own decisions and own conclusions about, maybe what's the best way to proceed or move when they deal with situations that might potentially involve law enforcement.
Yeah, and I think who's better to hear other than by the chief of police, Kendall Adams himself. So I think it's going to be a great topic, and I can't wait, and I'm excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, me too, and we're really grateful. Kendall Adams, who's the chief of investigations at IMPD, longtime Indianapolis resident, he's someone who truly cares about the community and wants to have that conversation with young people to see about how the police department can best serve the needs of kids, how they can get better, but also, we're trying to bridge that gap and educate one another maybe about the perspective of law enforcement and the criminal justice system, but also get a better feeling from where these kids are coming from, because they've got real world experiences, their perspectives is different than ours, and I think it's important that we give them that platform to have that conversation about what's going on.
Right. At the end of the day, the kids are our future, so we just want to make them as comfortable as possible as growing up as citizens in our community and in our city. So I think it's going to be a great topic, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Let's get to it.
All right.
What's going on, everybody? Marion County Prosecutor Ryan Mears, and we got a special guest in the building. What's going on? Chief of Investigations, Kendall Adams. Kendall, thanks for joining us here today.
Prosecutor, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here, man, talking to these kids. Hopefully, I'm gonna impart some knowledge on them, but more importantly, hopefully, they're gonna impart some knowledge on me. So I'm excited to be here.
And that's what we're looking forward to. We couldn't do this without young people from the community coming forward. Introduce yourselves to the people.
You want to go first?
Yeah, my name is Leo.
My name is Demetrius.
And how old are you guys?
I'm 19 years old.
I'm 18.
All right, so we got an 18 and a 19-year-old. And first of all, you guys have been great in terms of communicating with us behind the scenes, in front of the camera, kind of helping us get a better perspective of what's going on in our city. And Chief, one of the things that we frequently encounter in the community is, in particular with young people, there's sometimes a lot of resistance to cooperating with law enforcement or having that initial conversation with the police. Can you just share some of your experiences, being in law enforcement, and some of the things that you've seen in terms of people's concern about coming forward?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I feel that same fear myself, being a police officer. And before the segment, we were talking to the young people just about what their perceptions of police are. But one of the things I try to remind them is, at the end of the day, police are people, and we have to see people as people. We have to see through the uniform. We have to see through what young people may be facing to understand that we have to be able to communicate with one another. We have to be able to sit down and have those conversations. And I found when we have those conversations, we may not always agree. We may not always get up from the table singing Kumbaya, but I think people appreciate the opportunity to have their voice heard. And as long as we're communicating, I think that's the best that we can ask for, and I think that helps alleviate some of the concern that we have as police and some of the concern that you have as youth.
And when we talk to, we got two young kids here in the room with us here today. When you hear about the police, what are your initial impressions? What's your thoughts when you hear about law enforcement?
Honestly, my first thought is serve and protect. That's what their job is. Or that's what I hear their job is. So when I first hear about it, I just think about serve and protect, like they're supposed to be serving and protecting us.
I would say safety and helping. That's why my first thinking when somebody says law enforcement, because they do help people around. So that's what makes me think of those two words.
Absolutely, and it's refreshing and nice to hear that. Just
Yeah.
because there's so many, you become a police officer, you become a prosecutor because you want to help people. You want to make a difference in the community, and Chief, I know that's why you got into this. Is you want to help people, you love the city, and you want to see how you can make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely, prosecutor. I mean, you think about our mission statement. I mean, it's to preserve and help people in our community. But I personally joined the police department because I wanted to help. I wanted to help people that come from similar situations like myself. That we were talking off air just about everybody has a story. I have my own story. I didn't want to see other people go through that. I had a good relationship with a police officer that patrolled my neighborhood, and that spurred me kind of down that path. I had other mentors that came along, but at the end of the day, it's about service. It's about service to our community, service to a greater cause. And so that's why I personally joined. I have to think that's why a lot of police officers join. Maybe not all police officers, but a large portion of them join because they want to help. And, being from this community, I've seen the good that we have in this community. I've seen the bad that we have. And I want to be a part of the good.
Yeah.
Kendall mentioned he had that relationship with an officer in his neighborhood. Have you guys had interactions with the police, and what were those experiences like?
I have one good relationship with this officer at our school. It was like elementary. He always kept the school safe, and it was like told us like, "Hey, how's your day?" And that really makes me like get into more of that career. That was like one of my first career choices when I was a kid, and I wanted to be a police officer because of what he did. So, and I'm still to this day, I still want to be an officer. Still,
Great.
Yeah.
Yes.
They'll give you an application.
Yeah. Today, we'll get you an application.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate it, but
How about you?
I mean, when I came encounter with police, it never was bad, to be honest. It was good, but I feel like sometimes I did meet the same police officer over and over. Me probably not even knowing, but I feel like I did because, like not yesterday, it was the other day. My auntie was going to jail, and this police officer had knew me from like a past situation that he had came to my house. I ain't noticed him, but he noticed me. So I feel like all my encounters with the police have been good, nothing bad really. So yeah.
What about your peer group and your friends? Like, is there a perception of law enforcement and the criminal justice system as a whole?
I mean, not like the friends that I talk to, the people that I talk to. I don't feel like they have any issues with the police. I feel like the people I talk to just stay in the house and just be low key. So it's nothing they can do to be in trouble with the police or come encounter with the police. So, yeah.
How about you, Leo?
it would be the same thing because mostly some of my friends just stay at home and then we just call or hang out after all.
I think for Kendall and I, some of the toughest cases that we have are cases involving young people, where maybe there's someone who's young who's accused of a crime, someone who's young who's a victim of a crime, because you just see, like, their life is going to be changed forever, whether they're a victim or whether they're someone who's accused, and we see all that lost potential. And when we deal with those cases, it's challenging, but it can also be challenging because a lot of times there's resistance of people to come forward to say what happened or talk about what happened. Just can you share a little bit of light in terms of why you think people are sometimes reluctant to talk with the police about what took place?
I mean, I feel like the number one reason why people really don't want to talk to the police when there's situations like that is because they probably don't want to be labeled as a snitch or have a target on their back for like telling on this person or getting this person in trouble. I don't really feel like when people don't come up to the police and talk to them that they just don't want to talk to them or just defiant. They just probably is scared for their safety. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
I would say almost the same thing. Like they could have some fear, some almost the same emotions as fear, and probably don't want to talk to the officer because of anger issues or personal issues, and probably don't even trust the officer because of what they see on the internet of what other officers been doing. But it just depends on the person, what they really are.
Is there a feeling amongst young people that I don't need to talk to the police because maybe I can handle this myself?
I mean, I see a lot of that, yeah, for sure. 100%.
And can you talk a little bit more about that?
I mean, I feel like the kids, like in our generation, I'm always just say our generation, like I feel like the reason they don't talk to police is because if something happened to them, they rather just go do it on their own or take revenge on their own. Like that's just our generation. That's just how we grew up. And I feel like that's bad because not everything is meant to just taken out on revenge. Like sometimes, yes, you do have to let police do their job. Like it's better if you just let them do their job. Sometimes, but yeah.
Go ahead.
Prosecutor, I was going to ask how big. We always hear that social media plays a role in, what you all perceive. Is that true? I mean, is social media that powerful that you're watching it to talk about, how to get revenge, or you're watching it like how to deal with a situation, like maybe even just talking to a girl, right?
Yeah.
Are you going to your parents, or are you really turning to TikTok?
Like 9 times out of 10, I ain't gonna lie. Like I'm gonna keep saying, my generation, yes, 100%. They just go to straight social media. They not go talk to their parents. They not go do none of that. Social media plays a big part in our life because, like I said, we grew up around technology. That's our generation. So I feel like, no, they don't go to somebody just to talk to. They don't go do that to their parents. Social media is just what they look for.
And then, Leo, one question for you: How big is mentorship in your life, right? So if social media is teaching you like how to talk to a girl, for example, are you able to maybe communicate with that police officer that you talked about to say, yeah, I watched this on TikTok and this is what it told me on how to approach this girl, right? Or are you just mentorship is
Dating advice from Kendall Adams. That could be very popular.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't really think so because this is my own personal. I don't really talk nothing to anybody about my personal issues or personal stuff. It's just it's just up to me at this point. But if I do, just in case, need some advice or help, support, then I would say probably yeah.
You talk to someone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting to me because a phone can only do so much for you. It's those personal interactions, and those are the most meaningful relationships that I have in my life, are the people that I get to, build that trust with and have that bond with. Do you still feel like you're able to do that, with so much pressure and so much content of being on social media?
Yeah, I feel like I could go out in the real world and meet new people and talk to people. I love talking to people. I love meeting new people. So yeah, I feel like I could do that. Yeah.
I would say yes also because I'm more of an outside person. I barely be on my phone. I mean, you can even tell my friends too. I leave it on delivered every time, every time because I just be go inside and just hang out with friends that usually just text me and say we want to hang out, but mostly, I mean, and since my career is doing like police officer or musician artist, which is these two that I'm trying to choose between the both.
Police officer.
I mean, pretty much I just focus on myself, and then just do my career outside. I enjoy life.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy life.
And you mentioned something that was interesting to me because you said kind of your generation. It's we'll handle this ourselves as opposed to involving the police. Where does that come from? Like why is that a
lack of role models?
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
I feel like this generation don't have, like I said, much to look up to, much to look forward to. So I feel like they just like, I already don't got this resource and able to do this or do that. So I'm gonna just take this out on my own and do it my way because I have nothing around me. And like the role models, like we were saying, is very, very big because who you look up to is 9 times out of 10 who you go be. If you look up to a bad person 9 times out of 10, you probably gonna be a bad person because that's just what you know and all you know. So yeah.
When you say no hope, I mean, when you say you look around, I'm assuming you live here in Marion County. I mean, what do you mean by that? I mean, is it a lack of parks? Is it a lack of what is it a lack that you're missing that you don't think you have?
I feel like lack of activities. Like it's not much activities for these kids to do, so they feel like they just about to do whatever they want. So I feel like if kids had something they liked it in their community that they could go do, that's like probably free for them, whatever, they'll probably enjoy that. They'll probably look forward to that and shut down everything that's bad or negative in their life because they're doing something they love.
Gotcha. And then I just wonder how do you, Leo, how do you stay away from bad influences, right? People carrying guns. I mean, I'm sure it happens in your neighborhood, school. How do you separate yourself from that?
I separate myself from whatever's going on outside. Like, Okay. All right. So I separate myself because whenever I see a person in social media handling a gun, I just don't mind the gun. Just focus on the person, what he's doing. So I don't have to be like that. And that's really much of the kind of person I am. Just don't focus on anything outside the person. I just look inside the person, personality.
Gotcha.
Yeah. You know, the role model conversation is something that I think especially hits hard just because we know the value of mentorship. And Kendall, both of you and I have benefited from having tremendous mentors. You know, when we talk about how we can break this terrible cycle of retaliation, is it that one-on-one mentorship? I mean, is that a way that we can make a difference where people are going to say to themselves, I don't need to take this into my own hands because I have another person I can rely on?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like that's what I did at a point in my life where I feel like I probably wanted to go out here and do something bad. Like I just had a one-on-one talk with somebody, one-on-one talk with God most definitely, and I just get my mind straight. So yeah, for sure.
How about for you?
I would say like pray to not be like that. Pray myself and don't be acting like that. I'll be out there asking for advice or maybe therapist. Fortunately, could talk me to that way out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's crazy to me, Chief, is we've been doing this for a while now, and we look at so much of the violence in our community, and it stems from just dumb disputes.
Right.
I mean, people are not fighting over real things; they're fighting over ego. They're fighting over
Girls.
parking
Instagram.
spots.
Girls.
Right? They're fighting over girls. We just see all these simple confrontations lead to violence, and I'm just curious from the youth perspective. When you see like these simple things blow up into something that's much bigger, what can we do? What do you guys need to help avoid people from falling into that trap of getting into those fights that result in people getting seriously hurt because too many young people have guns?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the biggest thing is I'm always say is like a mentor or something. Because I feel like 9 times out of 10, the only reason those escalate is because emotions get involved, feelings get involved. I feel like when somebody could know how to control their feelings and emotion in that situation, it'll solve a lot of problems, like for real. So yeah, like I feel like they need somebody just to work on their emotions or know how to control their emotions and know when is the right place and the right time to use those emotions.
And can you be that person?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's if you hang around good kids, you're probably going to be a good kid.
Yeah.
And what can we do to kind of create more leaders in our community?
I mean, a leader is not created. A leader is born. I feel like a leader is not created. I feel like a leader is born more than anything because I feel like it got to be within you to be a leader. It got to be in your heart to be a leader, and that's all got to be born about you. So I don't feel like you can make a leader a little bit, but I don't feel like a good leader is made. I feel like it's kind of born. That's how I feel. I don't know.
Go ahead, Kendall.
I was just gonna say, talk a little bit about prosecutor talked about it, but like you at school, right? Maybe not your school you're currently at, but I mean, there's a lot of fights, right? And there's a lot of people that leave those fights, go home, get guns or what have you. One is the school environment. How are you navigating school, right? How are you navigating, like when I see this fight, maybe it's one of your boys, right?
Yeah.
And your boy is mad. I mean, he is hot. And he's saying, I'm gonna take care of this. He's saying, I'm going to get a gun.
I mean,
What do you do?
I'm gonna talk him out of it because at the end of the day, that is a life and death situation.
Yeah.
And that's a life changing event.
And does he listen?
Yeah, 9 times out of 10.
Okay.
If you don't listen, I ain't gonna lie. You will have to be a good friend to listen. But if you just don't listen, then you wasn't my friend to begin with because I'm trying to help you. And if you can't take the advice that I'm trying to help you, then that's just on you. That's just you making dumb decisions. And if a person decides to make a dumb decision, it's only so much you could do because a person is a person, like you said. A person thinks. Every person thinks differently. Every person is moved differently. So you can only help a person so much before they decide to just not listen to you or cut you off. So yeah.
Got it. Leo, what about you?
For the environment,
Yeah.
I'll just stop that friend, hold him down, eye contact, one-to-one and talk, and then just calm down at this point, because you don't know if his anger issues might, get more higher, like either like how you say, like might be like punch or hit, or basically hit, but talk him through it, and either take him somewhere like walking, parking, or hanging out. Those three solutions that could help him calm down and just forget about the
Get his
situation.
mind off of it.
Got
yeah.
it. Well, Leo, if you come up to me, man, you a pretty big dude. I'm gonna do exactly what you say.
Right. Well, and let's talk a little bit about the mental side of things. And unfortunately, when violence does occur in our community, it impacts all of us.
Yeah.
And it's not just the physical impact; it's the
Mentally,
mental
yeah.
impact and working through these issues. Do you, as young people, feel like you have enough resources to deal with your mental health?
I mean, I feel like I was saying with the activity things, I'm gonna say no, because I feel like you also do need activities to get your mind right. Like when somebody is mad, like 9 times out of 10, when Darion gets mad, the way he probably brushes that off is probably going outside to shoot hoops. Like that's a good way to get your mind off things. So I feel like no. I feel like just like more activities to work on the brain and work on the mind. So yeah.
What do you think?
What was the question again?
Mentally, in terms of
Mentally?
taking care of your mental health.
For me, for now, I have a job, so that distracts me. That just like puts me to a whole different person. Like at my job, I just be more calm and just do what the manager tells me. Which we all, we all friends around. We treat each other as family. But for the outside, I would say there's like not really much, because fortunately, if like a day off from my job, right, there's not too much things to do outside around Indy. Like I get there's like other activities like laser tag, parks, all the basic stuff, but I think we need more about like what should we do for our lives, for our future lives.
What would you like to see
I
when you say activities?
I would say like more about more activities about music, playing guitar, playing instruments, or like something that can help your brain just to smooth out and calm yourself out before you change to a different person.
What do you think?
I feel like we could have like public events at like parks. Like anybody could come out, just play ball, hoop around. Public events like play football. Just public events for the people to go to in certain neighborhoods. I feel like if that's something they could look forward to, then that's something they could get their mind off of everything else or life in general. Just giving them something to do.
When we oftentimes we see the consequences of gun violence. We see people lose their lives. We see people end up in prison.
Mm-hmm.
As 18 and 19-year-olds in this community, do you feel like young people appreciate those consequences? Do they understand that, like, when a life is taken,
Nah.
the ripple effect and
Nah.
how that affects their mom and dad, how that affects if the person has kids? And I mean, do people really appreciate the toll that's going to take on people in our community?
Nah. I feel like because if that did, like that would be your first thing to think about is the consequences of doing something. But I feel like if you just going out here doing it and you're not thinking about the consequences because the consequences is bad, then you're not really thinking about the consequences. You don't care about that. You don't value that. You just value taking somebody's life. And then 9 times out of 10, like I would keep saying in my generation, if somebody go out here and take somebody's life, they're later on going to be rapping about it, talking about it, or making fun of it. So I don't think they value that at all, no.
Yeah. And how does that make you feel, just as a young person, when
I mean,
people
it's
come-
disrespectful.
Yeah.
It's disrespectful. I would never do it because it's not me. I just find it disrespectful because that's like I'm going to say, a mother or a father just lost their kid and you think it's a game. And that's not a game because losing your life is not really a game. You only get one chance at life. So, nah. I think it's disrespectful.
I would say yes or no. Our people think that our new generation is just pure evil or don't care really much about their own lives. But I would say like we're not all the same people. We all have our different opinions. We have our personal things. So Really much. I think they really just focus too much on how other people think about, their own life. And the person who's watching, they don't really care about their own life. They just care about the other person that they're watching. For example, idols. Kids, they don't really know what to do or think about. So that's might be the problem, which is parental issues, parents' problems, or they're really not focusing on the kid real much. So let's say.
Chief, I mean, when you hear something like that, what's your response? What's your reaction to that?
Well, I mean, honestly, I'm glad these two are sitting here. I mean, these are the example. I think you're an example for your peers. You're an example for adults. And I just want to continue to encourage you all to think positive. When you were talking about just positive things, I think there are a lot of positive things in our community, and we got to connect with you. It is concerning, I think, prosecutor, to hear that social media plays a big part of their life, right? And mentorship was big for one, not for the other. So I think we still have a lot of work to do in our communities. When you have young people coming forward saying, hey, we don't have activities, that's real. I mean, whether we believe it or not, that's real. That's coming from these young people. So it is a little bit disheartening as we get ready to enter the summer that we still have youth in our community that don't feel connected to our community. And we have to work harder to make that a reality. We as a police department have to do more to connect kids to PAL that has sports programs. We as a government have to do more to connect so kids can get into parks for free and that they have stimulating activities. And we have to do more as a service community to connect parents to make sure they're equipped to handle these young folks. Because I think a part of what I'm hearing here that concerns me is I think a lot of parents just aren't equipped to deal with it. I mean, a lot of parents don't know how to deal with social media, know that kids are learning how to be kids via Instagram. And how do you have those conversations with your children to say, hey, yeah, I know you were watching that fight on Instagram, but that's not how you handle conflict. So we have to equip our parents to be better parents for these young people.
And and I guess I'll finish with this. I'm going to pose this question to both of you guys: is what can I do? What can Chief do when we have these conversations about? We want to end this terrible cycle of retaliatory violence. We want to make sure people are coming forward. What can we do to empower people in the community to come forward and do the difficult thing? And how can we make sure that we interrupt that violence and we stop that violence so we don't have the second shooting? But also, how can we help people come forward? What are your thoughts on what we can do to try to help you guys out?
Okay. I feel like honestly, y'all as a prosecutor and a police officer, y'all do a great job. I don't feel like it's like too much of y'all is just the youth. Like I feel like the youth is not willing to listen to a police officer or a prosecutor. So I just feel like it's not really too much y'all or so much y'all could do, but like so much a person could do or a parent could do. So I feel like y'all as a person are doing a good job at y'all job. So yeah, I don't really feel like y'all could do anything better, if that's a good question.
I would say almost the same thing, but not really more like have more people that can help other people to understand their own life and what to do with it, not just being there and being violent. Pretty much, I mean, it's not like he said, like it's not really much of y'all, just the youth. I was just like more people like y'all to help our youth, this generation and the next generation. So yeah.
Well, Chief, I cannot thank them enough for coming forward. I'm incredibly grateful that you're willing to share your thoughts, your story, and your perspective on what it's like growing up in Indianapolis in 2025. And Chief, we're going to kind of reflect on what we heard here. But is there anything else you'd like to share with these young people as they move forward with their lives?
No, I think, realize the power you all have. You, two, your colleagues in the back. You all are the future. You are, in my opinion, are the answer. You're exactly right. He and I can't do it. right? I mean, we can do it from a perspective.
Yeah.
But the real answer lies with
Within
you
the
all.
youth,
And you
yeah.
guys have to be more involved in the solutions that we face in our community. And we as adults have to create spaces where you all feel comfortable coming forward and leading.
And that's a good point, because I feel like a big reason why the youth is so involved in gun violence is because the youth is looking up to the youth. It's not like the youth is looking up to adults. It's the youth looking up to the youth. So I feel like if one person could change their life, then it could help the next person change their life, because you're looking up to that person and you can see that life is way bigger than just towing a gun or shooting somebody. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, once again, we're incredibly grateful for everyone's willingness to share the story. We're going to wrap up here with Book, but thank you very much for coming in here, kind of letting us know what's going on here in the city. We appreciate everything. And also, I got to say, you guys are also wizards behind the camera as well. And so you've done the impossible. You made me and Kendall look good. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Marion County Prosecutor Ryan Mears here with my two good friends. I got Book and Chief Adams here. One of the things that I feel really fortunate to get a chance to meet all of these young people, for them to kind of share their perspectives on what it's like kind of growing up in 2025. And Chief, when they share their experiences both on camera, off camera, just what are some of your initial impressions?
Man, I got to tell you, I spent some time with them before the segment, all of them, and even the ones behind the scene. I'm just really impressed. I mean, we hear so much negativity around youth, and we hear so much negativity in our community around violence. It's just refreshing to hear these young people, one, engaged in this process of producing this podcast, but then some of the stories they shared about what their aspirations are about going to college. We even had one young man say, I'm not going to college, but I'm going to figure it out. We had one young man that talked about being in debt and maybe having a delay going to school. I mean, that was just encouraging to see these young people thinking like that, because, again, we're around it so much on a daily basis that we sometimes lose that perspective. There are a lot of folks out here doing good things.
Yeah, absolutely. And Book, we're fortunate enough to get to meet some great people in the community. I think these kids are a prime example of that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, just to, like Kendall said, just to hear something refreshing. Like, we always hear the negative about, IMPD and the police department and the things that goes on. And just to hear these young men just really talk about the good things about the police. Even one saying he wants to be a police officer growing up.
Two of them, by the way.
Two of them, yeah. So
gives a little credit.
yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, two of them. So, yeah, man, I mean, I think it was great, man. Like, we always hear negative. So it's so refreshing to hear something on this platform, that was positive. Like, yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I feel really fortunate that, and it's just a good reminder to me of the potential that exists in the city, and just making sure that we amplify it, and people are aware of how many good kids we have in our community who are going to do great things. And I think, we do maybe have a tendency to focus on the negative a little bit too much, but, we're over here on the Far East Side, and we're meeting kids who are doing the right thing every single day, who are being leaders in their school, in their neighborhood. And that's what makes our city great. And it's a reflection of the potential.
Prosecutor, shout out to you, for having that vision to talk to young people. I think, you have really amplified that, we're the professionals, we're the adults in the room, but at the end of the day, we got to hear from them. Right. And you brought some of that out today. And I just want to encourage you and Book to continue to do that work, because, again, I think sometimes we talk over them and we're not talking to them. And giving these young folks an opportunity to amplify their voice, I think it's definitely going to encourage these young folks in this room to go back and be leaders within their schools.
And I think the thing that stood out to me too is just everything that these kids have already dealt with at such a young age. Yeah. And and it's but the behind the scenes conversations that we have as well. But like when you get to know what these kids have been up against and what they've experienced, and to see them continue to persevere, I just imagine I really admire how resilient they are, and how they've dealt with so many challenges so early on in their life. And they're undeterred. They're still moving forward. They're still going to be great people. But that level of resiliency just really, really impressed me, and I think is a reflection of how strong and how tough these kids are.
Yeah, I think that's what our community needs to see. That's what we need to start seeing, the positive. Knowing what these kids been through at an early age and knowing where they are now, I think this is our future. And once this is what breaks generational curses. This is what takes the chains off, not only in our city, but in the communities, in these homes, in these families. So yeah, telling their testimonies and knowing where they are today and watching what they're doing and where they are now, man, yeah, it's great.
Hey, prosecutor, I mean, one thing I encourage parents to do, loved ones of these kids, is to do what we're doing here. Mm-hmm. Sit down and have a conversation with your people.
Right.
We're not talking enough.
Right.
We're not talking enough to our young people. We're not finding out what's going on in their lives. What are their pain points? What are some of the pressures they're dealing with? Again, we're letting social media raise them, and we have to get away from that. We have to be able to sit down. I have to find myself doing it with my own kids. Mm-hmm. Sit down and say, hey, how was school today? What did you see? What did you learn? So I encourage parents, because you'll find out a lot. A lot of times these kids love to talk. Mm-hmm. They love to tell you what's going on in their life. And so I just want to encourage parents to be empowered to do that. Don't run away from that, because they need you. And again, it may not be a parent. It may not be a true parent situation. It may be a grandparent. Mm-hmm. Just my point is just have that conversation with young folks.
After listening to these kids, I mean, you are the chief of investigations. You have, enormous responsibilities. After these conversations, what are you going to take away and take back to the police department?
Yeah, I wish I could get these kids in front of my detectives just so they can see that, one, their voice does matter, and the work that our detectives do on a daily basis does matter. I know they get that, but I wish that they could get in front of, I could get these kids in front of them just to get to see people as people.
Right.
A lot of times we see these cases, and depending on what crime type we're investigating, they see a lot of it, right? And they become distance from it, or it's just another person, right? But it really does matter. And so I think seeing people as people, seeing these young people understanding that there is positive out there, I think would do them some good.
The thing that was really stood out to me too is when we asked, like, what do you guys need? Their asks were so small. Yeah. It's like, we need something to do on the weekend. Exactly. We need mentorship. We need positive role models, which is hopefully what all of us in the community understand is kind of our basic job. And so I was just surprised at how small the ask is. And it seems like we as adults have to do a better job of giving them those resources, because what they're asking for is not a lot. They want someone in their life who cares.
Absolutely. Yeah, me and Kendall had that conversation when I was like, when I was growing up, we had the PAL Club. Police was heavily in our community working with us, loving on us, and I tell them, no, that's all it takes. They just want to be heard or be seen, just have something to do. Like, we got to find these young kids something to do, whether that's mentor or finding a community spot for them to go play sports at, or play games, or, like he said, instruments. We need that more in each part of our community, whether that's west side, east side, south side, north side. We need a hub for each one of these kids to have something to do.
Yeah. 100%.
And certainly, made me kind of reflect upon how can we serve as better role models to people in our community? How can we have that more direct connection at the prosecutor's office with kids in our community? Because clearly we have a lot of kids who are looking for that. And I feel like if they have identified that as a possible solution, is that mentorship. So how can we fill that role? I'm curious. You're head of a big department, a big agency. I mean, is there a space for the prosecutor's office, for the police department to help fill that role when it comes to that issue of mentorship?
Absolutely. I was just thinking as you were talking, and I had a conversation with the victim's family just yesterday, and I was thinking, like, we have PAL programs, we have mentoring programs, you have a basketball program. I think collectively, I'm always thinking like individually we're doing great things. But I think collectively, I just think, what could we do? What could we accomplish? How powerful could that be to have Prosecutor Mears, myself, and Book on stage saying this is a program that we're all bringing together to help even more youth, right? So instead of the 30 or 20 that we have individually, we could service 60, right? And so, I think as I think about it too, we have to be more intentional about the families that we deal with on the police department side, connecting them to the prosecutor's program, connecting them to our PAL program. Again, those programs exist. Voices is another program that I have high regard for.
Yeah, it does
and
incredible work.
Does incredible work, right? There are a lot of programs out here that we need as a police department. We can't do it all. Prosecutor can't do it all. But if we could get together with these other programs and refer the kids that we see, or refer the families that we see on a constant basis, I think we'll be a much stronger community.
Yeah. Book, what do you think about filling that void? How can we get there?
Man, I think we're starting right here, right today, to have these conversations, getting it out here, listen to our youth. Just keep this going. Don't stop doing it. These voices need to be heard. They need to be seen. We hear so much negative. Like I said, it's just time to now start hearing the positive, hearing what their wants and what their needs are, and let's try to accommodate their wants and their needs. So,
Yeah.
And you're starting that, prosecutor. Think about it. They talked about social media. Here we are.
Yeah, we
Right.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we, and,
twisted it up.
and this will be on
that's one
social
start.
media, and that was part of the goal. Is how can we have a positive message out there? But we also want it to be designed and produced by young
Yeah,
people. So
absolutely.
hopefully we can penetrate their friend group,
Absolutely.
and we it's the people who maybe follow us. They don't necessarily need to hear this. This is for kids. We want them to have access to that content. One thing that does concern me is, and I don't have a good answer for this, but I am concerned about the mental health issues.
Yeah.
There's just the ripple effects of violence. I think just impact so many young people in our community. Chief, we see it every single day. We see the devastation that violence causes to different families. And it's just a lot to overcome. It's a lot to deal with. And there's a lot of kids who are growing, developing, and then we throw this incredible trauma on top of them while they're in that development stage. And it can be really, really difficult. And I'm not sure that we always have enough resources to help kids with the mental health part of that. I'm just curious from your perspective as someone who's in it every single day, what are your thoughts on the mental health resources that are available and maybe what we could do differently or better?
You spot on, prosecutor. There's not enough because oftentimes when youth see violence that directly impacts them, very rarely do you see them get some kind of service to deal with that. And oftentimes that's why we see kids get involved in violence themselves. So you're spot on, Prosecutor Mears. And as I think about it, we have a non-fatal shooting advocate program that reaches out to every non-fatal shooting victim. And some of their biggest needs, so they talk to the families, they kind of find out what is it that we can help you with to try to get you beyond this particular issue. So housing, food, and counseling services was number 3. It was the number 3 requested from the families that have been impacted by gun violence. So you're spot on, Prosecutor Mears, that and oftentimes it's not just the kids, it's the whole family unit that needs it, whether it be a grandma, whether it be dad, the victim themselves. So I agree with you, Prosecutor Mears. We have to find better ways to connect families to therapy services that can help them deal with the trauma that they may be dealing with at the moment.
And we see it all the time, Chief, with this retaliatory violence. And a lot of times people, when one of these situations occurs, people are angry, they're mad, and rightfully so, and they channel that anger into another act of violence.
Correct.
And then we have this terrible cycle of retaliatory violence that continues to impact families. And so is there a way that we can do a better job of interrupting that by giving people those services to deal with all the issues that you feel when you feel like you've been wronged?
Yep.
And that's something I'd like to see all of us maybe put a little bit more energy and effort towards when we have these conversations. And is that a real solution to stopping some of this retaliation that exists in our community?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's, from my perspective, homicide is a very tragic and gets a lot of attention. But, one of my bigger focuses is on non-fatals because we have an opportunity to break that cycle. We have an opportunity to talk to families and say, what is it that you need? And what breaks my heart is we get a report from Dr. McGee, and she gives us repeat victims. Means they've been shot twice within a year. And I mean, that list, 6, 7, 8 people that have been previously shot or shot again. And those are the folks that I really get our advocates to focus on. I mean, I email them right away. Hey, let's get to that families, find out what they need. But so the first part of that is making sure that people are connected to service. The second part is when people are shot, They need to. We want them to cooperate because the biggest deterrence is the person going to jail.
Right.
And we need people's cooperation to do that. Now there will be some families that say, "I don't want to cooperate," and it's like the young man said up here a few minutes ago. You know, they got to make that decision. Now, if you go out and you retaliate, you know, law enforcement is going to deal with that. But the quickest way to combat retaliation is to cooperate on the actual shooting.
And you know, to give you guys a quick plug is we, at least as far as I can remember, we've never had more success in solving these non-fatal shootings than we've had probably over the last 2 months. And I think a lot of it stems from the fact is there's not a lot of stranger shootings. It's a lot of these frustration shootings, a lot of these situations where you know the other person, and because both parties know each other, we're able to figure out pretty quickly what's going on. And so we've never filed more of these cases in terms of the non-federal shootings than we have in the last 2 months, which is a great trend because it does speak to that level of cooperation, but it also speaks to the motivation behind these shootings, which is just simple disputes that spin out of control.
100%. 100%. As the kids say, #truth.
Well, Book, before we get out of here, why don't you drop a little bit of knowledge on us? What do you have for us? What did you take away from this?
Man, just hearing our young people's voice, our young men's voices, just being heard, listen to them, listen to what they're going through, their trials, their tribulations, how they came out of it, their goals, their ambitions. All police aren't bad. The prosecutor's not all bad. There are some people here that's concerned about you, that really want to help you. And who more to help you than 3 great guys like us? That's right. So, yeah.
I just want to know who told Kendall to wear a suit.
Yeah. Clearly, I didn't get the message.
Wait, I just want to give a shout out once again to all the kids who are behind the camera right now who helped put this together, who are producing this, who are editing this, who are making all of this possible. We've had a tremendous experience here today, getting a chance to know these kids, understanding their backstory, what their hopes are, what their dreams are, and I'm just grateful that we get to play a small part in their journey. Thank you to everybody out there who watched and listened, but most importantly, thank you to the kids who made this happen.